here shortly, as we got a lot to get into here today. As much as border issues, immigration, security, all those kind of things are pretty well constant topics, there's a whole lot more going in onto this, and definitely affects us here in the borderland right today, including new statements out today from the Mexican president, affectionately, or maybe not quite so much, known as AMLO, on that one ever so slightly contentious issue, fentanyl. Yeah, among many others when it comes to talking about border situations. But this one, of course, being highlighted as there's just a whole lot of back and forth, including potential new updates. I mean, still, there's a whole lot of information need to be seen about the whole Matamoros situation and the shooting there, but potentially those responsible, or directly responsible anyway, maybe turned in by their own compatriots. So there's a lot going on there as well. But even then, on this side of the border and what's going on in our area, ever since we talked about, though, kind of related to some of those medical tourism issues, among other things, shortages being seen in part of the area, as well as other border enforcement issues going on, including another DPS pursuit, at least one noted as of today in this area, and a potential contender for the city manager, at least interim role name. So a lot of swirling subjects that we're definitely going to be delving into here today. So again, we got comments going in online, should be up on all of those now. Okay, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes dropping those likes and reacts, that we do appreciate it. So at very least we're up line in some ways, but then also we'll be taking those phone calls a little bit later. Also, Flaco Jimenez, don't want to shortchange anyone just because you got on and dropped that like and react right after I mentioned it. But yes, a very busy one for us today on this pretty nice weather day, I gotta say. I brought out the jacket this morning and then realized it was absolutely unnecessary. And so we got some good conditions in our area, even if we got some very serious things to start with. So it's being pretty widely reported, but among other things, again, Mexican President Andres Lopez Manuel Obrador, again, AMLO, kind of known, or not quite affectionately known, is kind of pushing back on the idea that fentanyl is something that needs to be worked on by their country. Yeah, which is, I have several thoughts, but let's just see what he had to say here. Specifically looking at a border report on this one, and from further reporting involving the Associated Press, saying, quote, we do not produce fentanyl, and we do not have consumption of fentanyl. Why don't they, meaning the United States, take care of their problem of social decay? End quote. So that's the statement. As we also have Ted Kors, afternoon to you there, and Austin Redfern, hey everybody, what's up, to you as well. So that's a maybe not the most helpful type of attitude to be taken to a major international kind of issue, and might make a little bit more sense on the whole pushback. Okay, maybe not sense, so to speak, but line up with, in any case, the position that has been kind of being floated, at least as of this week, when it comes to the actual position on the cross-border enforcement. Flaco Jimenez putting another way of saying that AMLO has also claimed to have seen enough, and in other slightly more serious ways, he's also claimed that media not agreeing with him is evidence of a right-wing conspiracy against him. I'm not saying that people don't disagree with him, but by not saying that you're right means that they're trying to do a coup attempt against you is logic I'm not following him on. So that's at least a fun bit of way to start off the day as we get further into this. And of course, it's further been noted that the Mexican government has previously acknowledged that fentanyl is produced at labs in Mexico. And sure, the precursors, I mean, also there's a lot to be said about there being, precursors or the finished product coming across from China. Louis Pinato, I mean, you do have a point here, I'll say, saying without demand, there's no need for a supply. And yet, when it comes to fentanyl specifically, like, sure, you get into your marijuana, your ganja, your multa, even the harder stuff, heroin, cocaine, all of these kind of things that are going to get us, you're going to get the algorithm us kicking off on the social media, but we'll keep talking about it, don't worry. I mean, sure, there is a level of demand that therefore it is feeding to, but I mean, at a certain point, we reach like a critical mass, and the amount of it being pumped through is not let's just work through this, do a thought experiment here real quick. If suddenly there was to be just a precipitous drop in demand, people just being like, hey, you know what, crack isn't cool anymore. We're just not going to do it. what do you think the response would be? Would it be from them to be like, oh, well, the customer of the supply base doesn't want it anymore, so we better switch lanes or do something else, or maybe just wrap up operation, guys. We had a good run. Then tell me if you actually believe that's reasonable, because I sure as hell don't. What I think would happen in that case is that they might, just kind of start trying to flood things into the area. And that's kind of what we're seeing when it comes to fentanyl specifically, because it's, I don't particularly hang out with people that are like, hey, let's go do drugs. Not that anyone actually says that, but even that case, that's not my crowd. That's not my scene. But even if those people that I have known that are like that never said anyway, hey, let's go do something that even the slightest amount wrong, like micrograms wrong, could just completely flatline us, just 100% put us in the ground. That's not exactly a selling point. And one of the things that we've talked about is being why would this be beneficial? I mean, sure, I could see it as hey, man, this stuff's so good, it killed a guy last week. And yet, maybe I don't get that, but I mean, I could see that possibly appealing to someone. But beyond that, the idea that it could be in anything, even on other types of illicit drugs. The fact of the matter is, I mean, some estimates have seen, maybe up to 40% of certain supply lines being further contaminated. Contaminated, maybe not the right phrase here, because that kind of implies an accident. So being purposely contaminated, let me just say it that way, with this insanely deadly drug that, again, if done micrograms is what we're talking about, the difference, which is not something that you could reasonably expect to be able to either detect for yourself, or even if you have the raw stuff, measure for yourself without very specialized equipment, like really delicate scales kind of thing. I'm going to say that fentanyl is not something that is being directly demanded, being like, oh yeah, give me a pound of fentanyl. Or at the very least, not someone who's expecting to be around here for that much longer. So, fact of the matter is that a lot of this stuff coming across, though, as was noted in the news update at the top of the hour right now, fact of the matter is that also ports of entry are certainly having an issue with this, because as we've seen, even just last week, what was it, as of like Wednesday, I want to say it was, there was already about 150 pounds of different types of things, of course, including fentanyl, being captured at just the local ports of entry. And what's being said by some of the national chiefs of the agencies involved here, Border Patrol, CBP, etc., is that the ports of entry have staffing problems. They have issues with being able to basically keep up with demand, but also keep trade going. Kind of a twin problem, because, I mean, sure, there's people out there that say just shut it all down and we'll figure it out. That would be bad in its own way, maybe more in a soft way. But if you want to find a quicker way to at least create a local economy, you'd be hard-pressed to find one that doesn't involve nuclear fission. But on the other hand, without having more resources put to it, then we're just seeing the ones that we hear about are the ones that are caught. The ones that are not caught are the ones that are, unfortunately, we don't know about. So that's why it's kind of on estimation, but when we heard some of that at the top of the hour there. So this is so much to say that lack of cooperation coming from the supply side of it, I see as being a significant issue in this way. Sure, the amount of demand there is for all those other types of things is definitely a problem, but I would also posit that none of those other things, of at least the simple use of it, any of those drugs we mentioned, should carry a death sentence just off the bat of it here. I mean, that's literally been the plot of several good and more bad movies that I've seen, and not particularly going to be in favor of that one, I got to say, at any point or going forward. Anyway, let's go ahead and take that next break right now. We'll talk a little bit more about this. We do have a couple of interviews we're going to be presenting to you today, including from El Paso Electric. Still got some more things coming up on the whole smart meter thing today. We're going to be talking about essentially some of these systems that are being put into place that are both, leaning towards or preparing for that potential for smart meters, but also the accessibility, the digital divide that some of you all have brought up when it comes to billing and the ability to do it without necessarily having to have advanced devices. So let's go ahead and take that first break of this hour right now. You are tuned into Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Again, phone calls a little bit late in the show, as we usually do. And, of course, comments coming in pretty well throughout. So, got some other input happening there. In any case, stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690. Slow traffic on the I-10 eastbound Vinton down to Artcraft with 5-minute delays. 54 southbound slow from McCombs down to Trans Mountain, 18-minute delays. Slow traffic eastbound Montana Avenue, McRae out to Zaragoza, an 11-minute delay. An earlier crash Paisano Drive westbound at Caldwell Street has the right lane blocked. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Truth with Lisa Booth podcast.
Hey guys, it's Lisa Booth. It's been over a year since Russia invaded Ukraine. So what's Putin's endgame? Rebecca Koffler wrote the book on it, Putin's Playbook, and she joins me on The Truth with Lisa Booth. Listen to The Truth with Lisa Booth every Monday and Thursday, but you can listen throughout the week on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's face it, credit cards are pretty much a necessity.
New tires for the car? Here's my card.
I order takeout. Here's my card.
And most of us just accept the high interest rates credit cards charge as a necessary evil.
What are you going to do?
Get a low fixed-rate credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream from $5,000 to $100,000 and pay off those credit card balances. Apply online, and you could get your money as soon as the day you apply. The average credit card company charges over 19% APR. But with Lightstream, you can get a fixed rate as low as 7.99% APR with autopay and excellent credit.
Now I can pay off my high-interest credit cards and save money with a much lower rate.
Apply today at lightstream.com/radio and get an additional interest rate discount. That's lightstream.com/radio. Lightstream.com/radio.
Subject to credit approval. Rates range from 7.99% APR to 23.99% APR and include a 0.5% autopay discount. Lowest rate requires excellent credit. Terms and conditions apply and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/radio for more information.
Car crimes are on the rise. Protect yourself and your valuables this holiday season. When you park your car, always lock it down. Never leave keys in your vehicle. Never leave your windows down. Don't leave your valuables in plain sight, or you might return to a terrible sight. Try to park in well-lit areas. And most importantly, always lock it down. Brought to you by the Insurance Council of Texas and the Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority. Learn more at lockitdowntx.com.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
This is high blood pressure. Get back on your plan. Go to loweryourhbp.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Who, me? Text and whatever, just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Traffic's bad enough without Mother Nature adding to your headache. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk, depending on whatever, whichever one you're at, and frankly, whatever works best for you, because that's the real kind of criteria here, is if it's the place where you can see us, comment, share, do whatever works best for you. That's the right place for you to be as we continue our dual missions to, A, have live local talk radio here in the borderland, because, damn it, I think we're worth it, and then also talk about the things that affect us here. So, I mean, sure, the topic we launched out there with on the very interesting opinion or position, I guess would be the right way to put it, coming out from the leadership of Mexico. Again, AMLO saying fentanyl is your problem, is being noted by a few different ways. And it specifically came during a visit to Mexico by the White House Homeland Security advisor to discuss the crisis. So trying to see about there being actual cooperation there, or more cooperation anyway. it makes well, several questions going forward there. As we also have Sean Gardner chiming with us. Good afternoon to you as well. And Flaco Jimenez with, I guess, mild brain fart earlier. Yeah, not contaminated, which implies accident, but laced. That's a probably pretty good way to put it, except, I don't know, maybe, okay, maybe I'm not the right person. I'm definitely not the right person to comment on drug paraphernalia or terminology, at the very least in recreational news. I always took laced to be as like a, also like on purpose, but like that you want to. Like the person using it wants to, like, oh, I got this thing laced with something else. But then again, I might be thinking about too many after school specials. Again, not my bag, not something that I guess I'm okay not knowing too much about it yet. And when it comes to circumstances like this, probably should do a little bit more digging. Anyway, so that's a significant one. But also another one I want to make sure we're mentioning here is that reportedly an apology letter has been found after there was those kidnapping and murder of U.S. citizens in the Mexican city of Matamoros earlier this week. Two of them now recovering in Texas hospitals, and two of them either, last I saw, to be returned. But the Associated Press reporting that through a Tamaulipas state law enforcement source that the Scorpion faction of the Gulf Cartel apologized to the residents of Matamoros, where the Americans were kidnapped, and the Mexican woman who died in the cartel shootout, and the 4 Americans and their families. Also reportedly turning to over the gang members to the authorities, its own members who were responsible. So that's would be an interesting twist. Would like to see more about that, because the idea of it actually being one of those mistaken identity cases, of course, there's still speculation going on there. But yeah, reportedly, again, according to the AP in this case, 5 men found tied up inside the vehicles the authorities had been searching for along with this letter. So, I mean, there's long been this kind of back of the hand, napkin written kind of notes, handshake agreements, but without like a handshake actually being involved of when it comes to cartel involvement of anything besides the supply moving north, of not wanting to be involved, not wanting to catch that smoke or that heat, basically, when it comes to real like major operations north of the border, or even of the targeting of Americans, because, well, I think reasonably so, a strong response can and should be expected. So if they're just saying, well, no, yeah, we didn't want to do this, and so we're just, here are the guys who did it, and they're dumb bunnies. But I don't know. I'd like to see more about this, and particularly more on from the actual law enforcement part of it, from the U.S. investigation side, that is. So that's just maybe another wrinkle in that whole situation. But we'll see what actually ends up happening there and what any further response is. Again, the part that we were talking about with all those being these calls for terrorism designation, particularly for cartels or anything along those lines, does raise essentially additional questions about, can any of those things be done exactly? Still hearkening back to, I want to say it was either earlier this week or late last week, the concept of there being anytime you start thinking about terrorism and enforcement, particularly foreign country enforcement, I think in the common person's mind, the idea of drones and drone strikes ends up coming along with it, which I have a lot of reservations about in our area, very, very, very specifically, or any region near the border, or kind of the idea in general. Again, the idea of cooperation would be the ideal to my mind, and like working with them. But if we're having top resistance at the top, I don't expect that it might be that much better outside of like specific circumstances or kind of existing relationships whenever it comes to cross-border enforcement. So much to say, I'm not going to hold my breath on that happening, and we'll see what designations actually may come down to unilateral efforts from the U.S., which would feasibly get us closer, in my mind anyway, to the idea of there being unmanned military platforms, which I still have just so much issue with. And Flaco Jimenez saying cartels with a conscience. Maybe not a conscience so much as oh man, y'all screwed up big time, and no, we ain't covering for you. So CYA more than anything, I would call that there. And no, I'm not talking about the California Youth Authority. Like, they're trying to just cover their butts and make sure that they, well, as much as they can anyway, saying, nope, this wasn't us, Dap. No, we ain't doing that. Just take them, and please leave us alone. So again, maybe some back and forth there, but I'd like to see a little bit more on that one. So at least one other circumstance that is unfolding in our area, kind of as part of the other aspects of smuggling, at least one more multiple arrest happening after a DPS pursuit in the Upper Valley a little bit earlier today, according to our news partners over there at KFOX 14. They actually had news crews out there seeing it near Artcraft, near the Carl's Jr., which, man, I was just by there the other day. I mean, it is, of course, the community. At least 8 people along the curb, most of them men, and there was an additional arrest of other 8 people, at least 20 people involved in this particular incident, happening right around about after 6 a.m., among other things, for the helping deal with the scene after the post chase. So we're still seeing those types of incidents. And actually, since we were talking about enforcement and particularly ports of entry, email out as soon as we got on the show here right now about more seizures of fentanyl and cocaine at the Bridge of the Americas, very specifically, happening a little bit earlier this week. I want to say, Tuesday, that there was a vehicle inspected with about 5.7 pounds of cocaine and 16.3 pounds of fentanyl, and another one with 23 pounds of cocaine. So the idea of there being more investments into particularly the ports of entry, I mean, like, sure, we talk a lot about Border Patrol and DPS in these circumstances we were just going on over here, at least in Texas. The idea of more enforcement, resources, staffing, etc., would probably be a probably pretty important thing, if not an overall definitely good thing in terms of continuing to deal with this, because sure, I mean, Louis Panada still going on the idea of only dopes use dope. I mean, if we're talking about a voluntary thing, I mean, sure, there's a little bit of, you takes your chances, but also still opposed to it immediately coming with a death sentence. That's completely unreasonable any way you slice it. But also remember the fact that whenever we're talking about fentanyl specifically, this is not solely someone saying, you know what? I think I want to take a lethal dose of fentanyl today. That sounds like fun. No, that's not what's happening. But also what's happening is that people who don't even have any idea that they are getting involved with illicit substances are getting the consequences coming from this. Even those that are like, oh, yeah, maybe I'll try something once, see what it is. Should that also come with the death penalty? I fully disagree with that idea, that concept, that follow through that would come along with that. So, yeah, that's, serious problems that we've got and need to be addressed in our area. We got more local stuff that we're going to talk about. Need to take that next break right now because we also have some new potentials, at least interim-wise, being named for the new city manager of El Paso, as well as a lot more coming down from what is going on with particularly El Paso Electric in terms of the service category. We're delving into some subjects that we'll continue to explore here. So we're going to go ahead and take that next break right now. Again, you're tuned into Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot more we'll get to. Phone lines like a little bit later, as I said. Keep those comments coming because we'll keep taking them and popping up even during this upcoming interview. Stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Fidel Moreno Mesa with your CBS 4 News Update. The El Paso County Republican Party stands by Congressman Tony Gonzalez after he was censured by the Texas Republican Party. Gonzalez's congressional district stretches from East El Paso County all the way to San Antonio, running along the border. The local Republican Party says there's no candidate more equipped to represent the diverse range of constituents in District 23 than Gonzalez. It comes after the state party censured Gonzalez because he dared to be bipartisan, voting with Democrats on gay marriage, gun control, and the border. The city of Las Cruces is considering to change a street name due to its racist connotation. The city of Las Cruces is considering changing the name of the street Squaw Mountain Drive. A city councilor says the word is now considered a racial slur. A retired NMSU Native American Studies professor says the meaning of the word has changed over time to imply the subjugation and demeaning of Native American women. For more news headlines, head to our website at cbs4local.com. I'm Fidel Moreno Mesa with your CBS 4 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Stop and go traffic on the 54 southbound McCombs to Trans Mountain is a 7-minute delay. Slow traffic with a 5-minute delay. I-10 eastbound Vinton down to Trans Mountain. A disabled semi is blocking the right shoulder on Gateway East at Loma Land. And El Paso police on the scene of an accident at the intersection of Sun Valley Drive and Rushing Road. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Could be some isolated sprinkles or light showers in the overnight. About a 10% chance. We'll see lows dropping down into the 40s to lower 50s, so light jacket for your Friday morning. Very warm temperatures for tomorrow, back around the lower 80s. Could see a high around 81 for Friday El Paso with some breezy conditions. And then we go breezy to windy for your Saturday, high around 80. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Dell Technologies.
The Dell Technologies semi-annual sale starts now with savings on select business PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Plus save on select monitors and accessories and get free shipping on everything. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish fast.
Want to start getting conversational in another language in as little as 3 weeks? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres?
Babbel's interactive lessons are created by real language teachers and voiced by real native speakers using a modern conversation-based method. So in no time, you can start speaking confidently about real-life topics in another language.
Nosotras vamos a México en 2 días y ahora hablamos español. Gracias, Babbel. Sí, muchas gracias.
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Because you never hear this.
Hey, hon, I'm late. Chris, I am so pleased you missed the beginning of our meeting.
Thanks for making me wait, Dad. I talked to a lot of strangers.
Check on your commute. Stay informed. Traffic and weather all day. Or you might never hear the end of it.
Well, you were late to our anniversary dinner that one time.
Yes, how could I forget?
El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso. Weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. And let's talk El Paso.
All right, everybody in the car. Let's go.
What are we going to do first when we get there, Mom? Go for a hike?
Sure, if you want.
What about canoeing? Can we go canoeing too?
I don't see why.
What about a bike ride? No, I want to fish.
Okay.
I've never been fishing.
Honey, we can do it all.
How long does it take to get to the forest?
It's not.
Is it going to be long?
No, sweetie.
I bet it takes forever.
It's not that far.
Are we there yet?
Yep, we're here.
Already? No way. Come on.
It's a short drive from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Also, find fun activities to do like boating and biking or camping and hiking, plus much more. It's all right in your naturehood. A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
Adopt U.S. Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Kids dream big. Protect your child's dreams by keeping them healthy. If your son or daughter is age 11 or 12, the American Cancer Society recommends giving them the HPV vaccine to help prevent HPV cancers later. Learn more at cancer.org/dreambig.
Want to be 100% certain about your taxes? Jackson Hewitt backs your return for life. Switch today and get 50% off tax prep. 50% off is a limited time offer for new clients filing at participating locations. Max value $200. Visit jacksonhewitt.com/50 for terms. This report is sponsored by Jackson Hewitt.
El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we are up on these days: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. Taking a lot of comments over there as well of people tuning in, chiming in, adding their 2 cents, or dropping those likes and reacts we do appreciate, including Angel Rueda, James Holmes, Ted Kors, Blanco Jimenez, Robbie Flores, and Monica Cervantes, and a conversation about propaganda and the parts of it here going on very interesting. We're bringing most for you with what Renato Rivera saying that propaganda is another word for BS. They all do it. I mean, if you think you're immune to propaganda or that anyone that you agree with isn't putting it out, sorry to say, it's constant. It's everywhere. And knowing how to navigate it and actually talking about the issues, that's one of the reasons we do what we do here, because cutting through that clutter is kind of important to me. Anyway, we got speaking of that, a couple of important things going on in our area, among other things kind of related to that whole medical tourism thing. Talking about there actually being a albuterol shortage happening both within the U.S. and can be seen as affecting parts here in the borderland as well. And so that's just one of those fun things that may actually end up being more towards the idea, because it's pretty differently controlled. We also have George Zavala joining us over on the social media. Do appreciate that. Hello to you as well. So that's one of those fun things related to those previous subjects we've discussed, but also, of course, the whole saga involving the city manager form of government and all this kind of stuff. We are looking at, of course, the at least interim replacement for the El Paso city manager, Tommy Gonzalez, as he has begun the ouster with the very delayed fuse of that 120 days. So it's coming. It's going to take a minute. I think that's late June, early July timeframe. Was looking at that. I think it's like June 28th is a specific date, but I'm giving a little bit of leeway there, just kind of hedging the bets. So, of course, the idea of what comes next, given that there was the letter out from El Paso Mayor Oscar Leeser, the open letter that also kind of dragged former Mayor DeMargo a little bit, and very specifically, along with the other former mayor, though didn't really mention him by name. I think John Cook was essentially the subtext there. Anyway, what Oscar Leeser was saying is that any of this removal, the vote that he did, the tie-breaking vote in favor of exercising the removal or firing without cause contract out of the actual, all the contract, saying that they're not looking to actually remove the city manager form of government, just doing this, and also, of course, elaborating on why they wouldn't give cause, because that would violate the clause. We've gone over that. But the next step has been at least hinted at now, including from our news partners there at KFOX 14, Mayor Leeser now looking to appoint city employee and retired Army Colonel Kerry Weston as interim city manager when city manager Tommy Gonzalez leaves. So that item has now been placed on Tuesday's city council meeting agenda. Yeah, this is Thursday, so that'll be next weekend. It does seem like this ends up being the time when these agenda items come out here. And if you're accusing me of omnipotence and knowing this was happening already, I appreciate it, but you might be overestimating me slightly. Anyway, it has been, as we mentioned, there are these different hierarchies within the whole city manager form of government. It's not just the city manager and then everyone else is just a rank and file employee. Weston, in this case, has served as senior deputy city manager before retiring in 2022. And so will now become, if this was to be approved, will become full-time and assist Gonzalez up until that last day, June 29th, assume the interim city manager role June 30th. So that's an interesting development coming along with this. We'll see about city council. If there's going to be, not that I necessarily think he's that controversial of a figure or anything, Mr. Weston, that is, but I also expect that some of the debate on this whole situation may carry over into that item. But do have at least one interview for you today that we got here after dealing with some technical difficulties, that of El Paso Electric customer service and billing specifically. Now, we've had a lot of conversations, or at least hints at, and wanted to talk more about things such as the smart meter, but also accessibility has been brought up as well, including the ability to have billing, access it without needing a smart device or any additional services, basically. And so I was able to sit down and speak with them on that point and kind of delve into some of those finer points. So this will be leading up to more, kind of starting off, but here is that interview for today. Enjoy. Joining me now, we have Robert Heimer, Director of Customer Care for El Paso Electric. Thank you very much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely happy to have you all on, because we have had some questions, comments, essentially concerns from the community when it comes to, as things continue to change. I mean, technology, the way services work is always changing, but the particularly way that people can interact with those services. I mean, electric service is essentially the lifeblood of the late 20th and certainly the 21st century, and people's ability to make sure they have it is very critical. So you all have been going through some upgrades recently for your customer care systems, those services, all those kind of things, right?
That's correct. We are focused on the customer experience and making sure that we are transforming the energy landscape, and that includes offering more functionality and technology that our customers are asking for. But we do also want to make sure that we understand that we have a variety of customers, and so we want to make sure we have options that are available to everybody, not just those who maybe are cutting edge or online, but also maybe in-person options as well.
All right, excellent. So you all recently had some downtime of your kind of basic pay systems in order to do some upgrades with that, including like, payment kiosks, some of the online portals. So what are some of the upgrades that you all put into place now?
The big update that we recently did was our billing system. We went ahead and upgraded that so that we are now set for the future as we roll out smart meters. That's going to come with a lot more advanced features and functionality that we want to take advantage of and help our customers. So it requires us to do that upgrade so that we can have the ability to provide that information to our customers.
So when we start talking about more detailed information, of course, a lot of conversation, we'll be talking at a later date more specifically about smart meters and those features. Just want to make that clear as an audience note here. But so when it comes to kind of on the billing side of it, on what the upshot of that information will kind of be, what kind of, details are people going to be able to see about maybe their usage, timeframes, those kind of things? What is that they all have been putting into place?
Exactly. So our customers will be able to see a lot more information about how they use energy, when they're using energy, and also get tips and information about how they could use energy differently to lower their bill. And I think it'll be a lot more informative. Our customers will be able to answer a lot of those questions that they probably have about why is my bill the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that information is going to be provided with smart meters.
So kind of, for example, right now, at least remembering my last bill that I saw coming in and still getting some of the paper ones, but also online, is that it was kind of a, month by month kind of breakdown where it kind of laid. So just kind of a total amount of usage is kind of where it has stood previously and what has been kind of the standard people have expected. So with these changes, what you all are working on and now again have put into place after that kind of pause on some of these services in order to make these upgrades is now more detailed information. So we're talking about like time of day, those kind of things, like a specific like spikes in date, or what will that end up looking like on the end for the consumer?
Correct. Our customers will be able to log in to our website, El Paso epelectric.com, where we have a manage my account portal. And when they log into their account, they'll be able to see the breakdown like you're mentioning about daily. So Monday through Friday, or Monday through the days and weekends.
We're Monday through Friday. Y'all are every day of the week. Absolutely.
Be able to see each of those days. And so maybe they'll be able to learn that maybe more of the usage is on Saturdays and Sundays when they're at home more than maybe when they're at the office Monday through Friday. That's the kind of visibility they don't have today on their bill when they look at it. Because like you said, it's really one number for the entire month. Then we'll also be able to break that down even within the day down to hourly and smaller segments in case they need to drill down to, is it the morning when I'm waking up? Is it when I get home from work and I turn everything on? When is that energy consumption really happening?
Because if anyone has ever taken the time out to go and look at their existing meters, essentially we got that still that kind of spinning disc that measures essentially turning electricity into kind of a linear motion that is then recorded as how much electricity has been used. And so that again is kind of just one big aggregate measure, and as opposed to the smart meters adding more technology into it, we'll be allowing to do that more of a breakdown. So when it comes to the billing aspects of this, again, one of the big questions that we've had come up from our audience kind of for utilities in general has been about the accessibility of them. So of course, more better ways to do these are certainly probably a good thing in the long run. But specifically when it comes to those, I mean, we have some of the poorest zip codes in the country, unfortunately, within our community here. And so when it comes to that, sometimes there can be people that if they're not able to keep up with it in certain realms, being left behind. So what are some of the things that El Paso Electric is doing to make sure that essentially digital divide is really kind of the phrase we're talking about there, doesn't impact people's ability to still have electrical service?
Well, El Paso Electric has been in the community for 100 years, and we plan to be here for another 100 years. Part of that really means that when our community needs us, when they have those kind of questions or need the support, we're available. And one of the most common ways that customers reach out to us today is over the phone.
Certainly.
And we'll still be doing that. We have customer service representatives. They're getting trained on all this new technology. So if customers don't have access to the internet or they want to know more information, our CSRs will have that as well. And they'll be able to explain it to customers and walk them through kind of the same things I mentioned about maybe how they're using energy and tips on how they could reduce their bill and lower consumption.
Okay, so phone line, certainly a part of it here, but for even those that have, difficulty, again, accessibility often becomes kind of an issue with that if they're not able to, be hard of hearing or other, functioning disabilities, those kind of things. So when it comes to options to actually just pay a bill, even physically, what are some of the options that El Paso Electric has available, or ways that people can go about this if they just have different needs?
Payment options, we still have several options, and we're going to continue to look at what other options are important in the future for our customers. But right now, for example, if a customer is paying by cash, maybe they don't have a banking account, or they live, they get paid on an irregular basis. So then they want to make sure that they manage their payments that way. Cash is certainly available still. We have 4 kiosks throughout our service territory, one in El Paso, one in Van Horn, 2 in Las Cruces. But also we partner with third-party payment agencies, which is Check Free Pay and Western Union. And both of them have different locations throughout our service territory where customers can walk in and make their payment. These are usually convenient locations such as like Dollar General, Walmart, CVS, places where you are already there to maybe pick up your groceries. You can go ahead and pay your utility bill at the same time. I do want to remind our listeners that you do need your account number when making that payment. That's really important.
Yeah, knowing what information you need to have on hand. So the account number associated with the place that you're living is certainly very important there. So as these changes continue on, is there any kind of even rough time frame for when this type of advanced information or really the rollout of those meters will be seen at this point yet?
Yes, I think I'll allow again the next segment to kind of talk a little more details, but from a high level, as we begin exchanging meters in the organized schedule, once the customer has the new meter, our goal is to have that information available for them. So it really depends on when the customer's zip code and area is going to be part of the exchange.
Okay. So again, we will be delving further into smart meters, the implications, and what will be coming along with that later on. But just so kind of knowing that this will begin a rollout essentially. So it'll kind of go through segments of town and of, the service area that you all serve, right?
Exactly. This is certainly larger than just El Paso, right? We're looking at also, like we said, Van Horn, Fabens, Anthony, Las Cruces, Hatch. We really kind of go through the whole service territory, and we have a process for that. And we'll be informing customers in advance so that they know when we're in their area. And then they'll be getting emails and communications about this new functionality once it's available.
Okay, so again, we'll be focusing more on that. So anyone wondering about that is something that we are working on and have on the schedule to talk further about. But just on the billing and those implications of it here, at least for the foreseeable future, I mean, new technology is always coming online, new requirements, but you all are still going to have the ability to pay in person and pay in cash for those that still require that.
That's correct.
All right. So again, a guest right now has been Robert Heimer, Director of Customer Care with El Paso Electric. We've been talking about some of the very important notes about how billing and how the information that will come along with it can be done, as well as how to pay the bill. Anything else you'd like to add about El Paso Electric, the services, and particularly the billing and the way customers can interact with the utility here today?
Well, I think the one thing that I want to remind all of our customers, and I say this a lot, is we have the paperless billing option. And I think that's really important to make sure customers remember that. By avoiding the paper bill and getting your bill through email, we are really, making sure that we have less of a burden on the environment, and it's also helping us to keep costs down. So the more that customers can help us by signing up for paperless billing and going online and enrolling in our Manage My Account portal, that will set them up the best for these new features that we're rolling out.
Absolutely. So again, any of the information that we have been discussing here, if you are wanting to know about it, again, the website is epelectric.com. But for that toll-free local number, in case people need it, 915-543-5711. Is that the best one for them to call for El Paso Electric toll-free?
Yes, and if it's local, the phone number would be 915-543-5970.
5970. So again, good numbers to keep in mind there if that is how you need to do this. So again, guest right now, Robert Heimer, Director of Customer Care with El Paso Electric. Thank you very much for talking to us about some of what is going on, what people may have been experiencing, and what they can kind of expect going forward when it comes to particularly customer experience and bill paying here today.
Thank you so much.
All right. And again, thanks to our guest there. With that, we're going to go ahead and take that next break. And we'll go ahead and open up those phone lines as well. So if you're wanting to get on the line, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Before we get to that next break, I do want to mention that we will also be having this weekend on the El Paso Public Forum. Had a preview ready for today, but we've run out of time here for this segment of the El Paso Vibe, the visually impaired and blind experience. So be sure to tune into the El Paso Public Forum this coming weekend, airing Sunday mornings on all local iHeartRadio stations to hear more on that and those services available. So going to take that break now. Again, that number, if you want to get on the line, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound, Trans Mountain Mesa, 5-minute delays for some slowing there. Gateway East at Loma Land stalled semi on the left shoulder. A multi-vehicle accident, Pebble Hills eastbound at Sunfire is causing a backup all the way back to Joe Battle. In fact, a fire truck is blocking the right lane, Joe Battle northbound at Pebble Hills. And an accident reported Sun Valley Drive at Rushing Road. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. During Staples Teacher Palooza, teachers save big, or you save. It's the perfect time to help your favorite teachers stock their classroom. Save 25% on classroom decor. Plus 2-ounce bottles of Purell hand sanitizer at just 49 cents. In-store only. Offer ends 3/11. Hurry to Staples today.
With Seagram's Escapes, you can turn a daily chore into a vacation. An ordinary dinner into a lively cookout. Your Wednesdays into an early weekend. Or any situation into something extraordinary. Seagram's Escapes. Make happiness happen. Enjoy responsibly. 2023 Seagram Beverage Company, Rochester, New York. Flavored malt beverages.
Being a real estate agent isn't about listing houses. It's about connecting to people. I need to find new buyers every day. So I promote my listings using radio commercials from iHeartAdBuilder.com. Now every time I have an open house, it's a full house.
A custom radio ad from iHeart Ad Builder is the fast, affordable way to drive customers to your business. Put the power of radio to work for you. Get started now at iHeartAdBuilder.com.
Spring travel season is almost here, and whether you're planning to jet off to Japan or cruise around Greece, don't forget to add language learning to your itinerary. The Rosetta Stone app will transform the way you travel. Learn useful words and phrases that will not only help you get around more easily, but also have more meaningful experiences with the new people and places you'll discover. Through March 22nd, get 40% off a lifetime subscription to all 25 of Rosetta Stone's languages. Purchase today at rosettastone.com.
Is your tub worn out, but you're not sure who to trust to replace it? With over 2 million successful bath remodels, people trust Bathfitter because we know how to do it right. We've been custom designing and manufacturing baths for over 35 years. Our unique tub-over-tub installation takes as little as a day with no demo to fit your busy schedule. And we offer a lifetime warranty on every tub. That's how confident we are in our quality and durability. Bathfitter, it just fits. Visit bathfitter.com to book your free consultation.
Best of El Paso Oil Change is opening their 10th location. Lube Express, Lee Trevino at Montana. Specials, prizes, and a chance to win $1,000. No purchase necessary. Visit Lube Express, Lee Trevino at Montana. Drive up, drive in, drive out. That was fast.
Stop going it alone for recruiting and staffing. Choose a local expert. Hiring is about getting to know people, not algorithms. So let the team at Express Employment Professionals hire for you. Visit expresspros.com to find the office near you.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to interact with the show. Of course, we got the social media channels. A lot of people tuning in, chiming in, adding their 2 cents over there. Particularly a lot of people asking questions about different aspects of the El Paso electrical service here. So this was a pre-recorded interview, but also, I mean, we got a couple of these. This was the first one that we wanted to make sure we got on because there had been questions brought up previously about, given the way things are moving and maybe lack of accessibility, how people in our community, be it whatever their needs are, English, Spanish, in person, online only, what have you, what accessibility there is, that there were serious concerns brought up. But we'll be talking more in the coming week. So if you got questions, we're having some essentially submitted, including like Renato Rivera asking about solar panels. Who else? Luke Donato, I'm going to choose to take that question. Is asking about if you can pay in person. Edcler also asking about safe and optional, and are they safe? And also Willie Jenkins about electric or solar and how much can they make on recycling, giving those kind of things. So I mean, we will keep those questions in mind here. Essentially, is what I'm getting at, because we do have more on the smart meters. This was not the exact expert on that. This was just on kind of the billing side of it, which we also wanted to address because, again, y'all had brought it up. But then we will be getting more into smart meters next week. So if you got more of those questions coming up, we'll definitely be delving into that because, okay, yeah, billing is more of a, okay, how can you functionally do it? Because so kind of a, maybe a little bit even closer to a PSA, to be perfectly honest with you, on knowing how you can do it. Because if you're unable to, it's a serious problem. So if you're opposed to people having accessibility and wanting to know about how they can pay their bill, that says way more about you than it does about anything else. But we got to take that next break right now. We got calls we'll be getting to on the phone line, full of at the moment, but keep that number handy, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound, Trans Mountain Mesa, 5-minute delays for some slowing there. Gateway east at Loma Land stalled semi on the left shoulder. A multi-vehicle accident, Pebble Hills eastbound at Sunfire is causing a backup all the way back to Joe Battle. In fact, a fire truck is blocking the right lane, Joe Battle northbound at Pebble Hills. And an accident reported Sun Valley Drive at Rushing Road. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Paid for by government.com.
The 1878 to 1921 Morgan Silver Dollar, a true American classic and one of the most iconic silver dollar coins in history. It's been 100 years since the last Morgan Silver Dollar coin was struck for circulation. And now, for a limited time only, full pound bags of original U.S. government struck Morgan dollars are being released to the public. That's right. You can own a full pound of 1878 to 1921 classic American Morgan Silver Dollar coins, all in very good collector condition with fully visible dates and mint marks. Guaranteed. Call 1-800-473-1745 now to secure collector grade U.S. Morgan Silver Dollars by the pound, struck during the Wild West and the Gilded Age. Plus, receive a bonus American Collector's Pack valued at over $25, free with every order. Call 1-800-473-1745 now to secure your full pound bag of Morgan Silver Dollar coins before they are gone. 1-800-473-1745. That's 1-800-473-1745.
News on the hour and the hat. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. At least 7 people are dead and several more injured after a mass shooting in Germany. Local media reports it happened at a church in the northern city of Hamburg, where more than 24 people were believed to have been shot. The suspect is believed to be dead now. The president is calling on House Speaker Kevin McCarthy to put forward a budget from Republicans.
Sir, I'm ready to meet with the speaker anytime, tomorrow, if he has his budget. Lay it down. Tell me what you want to do. I'll show you what I want to do. See what we can agree on.
While speaking in Philadelphia, Biden unveiled his own budget proposal and outlined his priorities on education, healthcare, and other issues at a union hall. The president's budget includes a new billionaire tax. Alec Murdaugh's attorneys are filing a notice of appeal following his double murder conviction. Murdaugh, a prominent and once wealthy South Carolina attorney, was given 2 life sentences for the murders of his wife and youngest son in 2021. He was also convicted of 2 counts of possession of a weapon during a violent crime. Federal investigators are releasing new details on Tuesday's deadly plane crash that killed 4 people in Winter Haven, Florida. Gordon Bird reports.
Lynn Spencer with the National Transportation Safety Board says a Piper Cherokee operated by a student pilot was turning left on a runway approach to Winter Haven Airport, announcing on radio just before it collided with a seaplane.
And came nose to nose with the Cub, which attempted an evasive maneuver.
The NTSB has recovered both planes from the lake where they crashed and will take the wreckage to Jacksonville. Spencer says they're urging the pilot school and seaplane company to hold stand-downs for safety retraining.
Former NBA All-Star Shawn Kemp is out of jail following his arrest in a drive-by shooting in Washington state. Prosecutors said Thursday that no charges are immediately being filed. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. Mexico's president doesn't like the idea of using military force to deal with the cartels in his nation. Andres Manuel López Obrador said no foreign government will get involved in Mexican affairs. His remarks came one day after South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham announced he'll introduce legislation to designate a group of cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. J.P. Morgan Chase is suing a former executive related to his ties with the late sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, who was a bank client. Lisa G. reports.
Court documents show the bank is trying to make former Barclays CEO Jess Staley personally liable for any damages that J.P. Morgan Chase will have to pay out. That's in connection with 2 lawsuits the bank is facing from Epstein's alleged victims. J.P. Morgan alleges that Staley had a close relationship with Epstein and witnessed Epstein assault a sex trafficking victim, but failed to disclose the information to his bosses. There's been no comment from Staley's lawyer.
Abolitionist Harriet Tubman is being honored at the unveiling of a massive monument in Newark, New Jersey.
It's called Shadow of a Face and includes audio by Newark native Queen Latifah. The monument to the Underground Railroad conductor and former slave also includes a learning wall where visitors can read about Tubman's daring exploits, helping hundreds of slaves escape to the north. Tubman was also a Union spy during the Civil War. The monument stands in a park where a statue of Christopher Columbus once stood. It was removed in 2020 following George Floyd's murder. I'm Sarah Lee Kessler.
The LAPD isn't getting a dog-like robot anytime soon. The city council postponed a vote on the matter this week after being met with protests. Critics argue the $280,000 machine could be used to expand police surveillance in Black and brown communities. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
This report is sponsored by Brake Masters.
It doesn't matter what you drive, it's how you get there. Brake Masters doesn't care. We've seen it all and fixed it all. Get your vehicle in Brake Masters shape today. Download coupons and schedule an appointment from your smartphone.
Brake Masters. We give you an honest break.
Attend the El Paso Gun Show this weekend, March 11th and 12th at the Forum Ballroom, 3800 Maddox, El Paso, Texas. See dealers selling the finest in modern guns, custom knives, ammo, scopes, rifles, shotguns, and much more. Buy, sell, and trade at the El Paso Gun Show this weekend, March 11th and 12th at the Forum Ballroom, 3800 Maddox, El Paso, Texas. Do not miss the El Paso Gun Show this weekend, March 11th and 12th.
I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I love Navage. I've told you about how your nose is the body's air filter, that Navage's powered suction will help flush out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, and that Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like Haley, quote, Navage is the best thing I bought. I love it. My nose feels so clear now and I can breathe. I've been struggling with a stuffy nose for weeks. I bought Navage and it's amazing. Or this one. I use Navage every night, could not imagine life without it. I have 5 cats, and before I found Navage, I was a clogged mess. Now I breathe so much better, unquote. Those are 2 of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage, the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, Navage, clean nose, healthy life.
Rosetta Stone, where language is learned. RosettaStone.com.
And now for today's Roblox winter weather alert. iHeartland on Roblox has been walloped by a winter snowstorm. It is a winter wonderland. You can now ice skate at State Farm Park. In State Farm Neighborhood, you can compete in snowball fights, grab a hot cocoa and cookies, and more. There's also special events from your favorite artists and podcasters all month, along with scavenger hunts, exclusive content, and unique items. So enjoy the festive winter weather at iHeartland on Roblox. Head to iHeartRadio.com/iHeartland today.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we are up on these days. Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or Twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of stuff we're getting into in there today, and a lot of stuff that we'll continue discussing. A lot of people tuning in, chiming in, including those dropping those likes and reacts, including Angel Rueda, James Holmes, Ted Kors, Flaco Jimenez, Robbie Flores, and Monica Cervantes. And we, of course, got those phone lines open, if full up at the moment. I guess we're finally over some of those issues we're having earlier in the week with the weather, knock on wood. Anyway, that number, keep it handy, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. So we do have Raul in the Northeast on the line with us here right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. Well, the big news is that district attorney and prosecutors in Manhattan are signaling that criminal charges for Trump are likely. The former president was told that he could appear before a Manhattan grand jury next week if he wishes to testify. And they say that that's a strong indication that indictments could soon follow. Now, Trump, all he's doing is reaping the tons of bad karma that he's sown. He's one of the most corrupt presidents I've ever seen, you know, and he's the only one to be impeached 2 times, the second for staging a coup, and Trump is one of the few incumbents to lose re-election. He's a big loser. He lost his party control, the House, and then the Senate, and that led to his impeachment. But let's talk El Paso and the station that carries it. Now, my rhetorical questions are, does KTSM's programming influence the community or seek to influence local opinions? Now, there's no doubt that KTSM is primarily a right-wing propaganda talk radio station, with a right-wing nuttery and lies starting way back with deplorable Rush Limbaugh, and then followed by Sean Inanity and goofy Glenn Bonkers Beck, and then Mark Latrine, and then replacing flushed Limbaugh with Buck and Ken. And by the way, I called into Rush and Sean's shows, and I was screamed out. They want mostly sycophants, listeners who have been Hannitized and ditto heads. Now that Rush Limbaugh, he died of lung cancer, having been a smoker for many years and being a tobacco harm denier and against government regulation of the industry. And then he stopped smoking cigarettes and started smoking cigars and got himself some cancer, you know. And then this station carries Sean Inanity, along with a bunch of right-wing talk radio propagandists who spread all kinds of lies and crazy cockeyed conspiracies. Now, first, Limbaugh was bad for America, just like Fox and its prevaricating propagandists.
Let me make something very clear here. You're, of course, entitled to your opinion on it here, as are other people going to be to respond to you. But as I've made it clear a lot of times here, this program exists not to be responsive, supplement, in place of anything else that on our airwaves. We're here to talk about the local things. So if you have issues with those other shows, may sound like some program selection might be in your future, or at least in your interest, but also the idea that you're going to try to hold this program accountable for what other ones do, just it doesn't make sense. So if you want to talk about the local things, the local issues we brought up here, that is what we are here to do. But otherwise, if you're wanting to talk to those programs, I would encourage you to talk to those programs. If you're not actually wanting to talk to them, but rather kind of like shout at them that may be a part of it there. But we have our own policies and our own ways we go about this. And so if you want to talk about these local things, you're more than welcome to. But also, when it comes to what's going on with that Manhattan prosecution, let's not get it conflated here. This is not about like January 6th or really anything that went on during the presidency. So if you just like the presidency, just recognize that this prosecution or potential for it going to be separate, related to hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. So let's get this like correct. Okay, does that sound good to you?
Yeah, it sounds fine to me. And again, here's a guy who paid off a prostitute so that it wouldn't come out in the elections, and is supported by a political party, who has its representatives here in town, who listen to your program, who call on your program, who post on your program, that they used to believe that character counted, that morality mattered, that they voted on the basis of values. And here this guy, according to Tucker Carlson, is a demonic force, a destructor. And Tucker Carlson and Fox Radio and Sean Hannity got on there and lied and lied and lied to the American people, and your station's part of that.
We do not air Tucker Carlson. Let's make that perfectly clear here right off the bat. And also, again, as we brought this up before, if you're wanting to use this as the whipping boy for any other station or anyone else's opinions kind of in general, is like, well, I disagree with these people, and I think they're listening here, so I'm going to shout at them by proxy here. We're not going to do that either, because as I keep continuously coming back to, we're here to talk about the local things. I mean, sure, we open up the floodgates a bit for Friday, and we're decidedly in Friday territory at this point, however kind of nebulous try to link you're trying to do with, well, if people in El Paso listen, sure, but go and talk where we're actually discussing those issues. Otherwise, if you want to talk about the local things, that's what we do here. So appreciate the point in the call for what it's worth, but we're going to go and talk about the local stuff, at least a little bit anyway. Thanks for that. Let's go ahead and take that next call right now. Again, that phone number is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Andrew on the west side here with us right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, greetings to everybody out there. Anyway, Andrew, in response to what was said earlier about Mexico not producing any fentanyl,
which is, I mean, it's even been noted that the other branches, other parts of the Mexican government has said, yeah, we have been, well, not that we have, but it has been happening here. So yeah, I'm gonna say that, okay, I've called AMLO a loose cannon, which may or may not be a either too generous term or not, but I mean, I think it's pretty much him trying to, I read a whole lot of this, is trying to put his foot down, saying, nah, we're not going to do anything the U.S. wants us to unless it's totally in our interest. So not that he couldn't end up cooperating later on if he decides to, but I guess that's the kind of point of the whole loose cannon thing, is that it's kind of unpredictable what's going to happen next and who it's going to run over.
Well, yes, I agree with you on that, but got to remember he is a founder of one of the most liberal parties that Mexico has ever seen, the Morena Party. Sorry. Anyway, but there was a report issued by the Global Initiative Against Transnational Crime, and it shows that large-scale systemic corruption in Mexico has enabled crime networks to thrive.
Yeah, okay, I guess maybe the way I really feel like about this, you just kind of put in my mind, is that if he's really saying, oh, no, there's no fentanyl being made in Mexico, sure, it's coming through us, which also is not like, you realize that's worse, right, that it's coming through and you just don't care, but also it's kind of like, it feels a little bit like an emperor has no clothes kind of moment. You're like, oh, no, it's totally not happening, when there's more than sufficient evidence that it's totally happening there, or at the very least, the organizations that are within the country are definitely doing it in incredibly large numbers.
Yes, they have many clandestine labs that produce this. Okay, now he talks about the addiction and the market here in the U.S., but Central and South America have become equally big markets. Okay, Mexico itself. Okay, and this is a UN World Drug Report. Between 2013 and 2020, it says that Mexico has become a burgeoning consumer of drugs, and there was a 218% increase during those years of people who were being treated for drug use. in Mexico.
I mean, yeah, okay. I kind of want to make a local point on that because we often have like implications of, oh, well, there's trafficking through our area, but it's never really affecting us here. And I feel like that's kind of a similar attitude being done there, kind of being put forth by AMLO there for Mexico. Is like, well, it's not really our problem because it just passes through. But yeah, to say that you've got poison being trafficked and therefore it won't have any blowback on you is just that's real short-sighted, bad planning, and gonna come back to bite you. Well, not even necessarily him, the people that you govern over in the long run. Like it's not a good plan. I'm fully opposed to this. Make that perfectly clear.
Yes, I agree with that. But also with this burgeoning addiction that's continuing in Mexico for illicit drugs. Okay, local crime in Mexican cities has increased. In other words, burglaries are up, home burglaries are up, thefts from persons, robbery. You got to have an avenue to. You got to have a means to pay for this stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot baked into that. I guess another way I end up feeling about this is very specifically, there's, what is it? I'm thinking actually about Russia in this case, how there has been, Russian criminal organizations, but I mean, Russia kind of gave off the guise of not being a kleptocracy a while ago. And so pretty much any criminal organizations are not even just with the kind of tacit approval, but have to essentially be under the guise of the government, because like if you're doing activities and stuff that is not along with the top, essentially just kind of assume control while still letting them kind of do their own thing, and therefore giving them a bit of useful kind of arms like, it's not us, it's the criminal organizations that are not up. Like if you're saying that they're operating without your tacit approval at that point, particularly when they're talking about their international operations, the hacking stuff like that, that's where I think AMLO is like maybe trying to pretend that he has. But I think that the idea that the federal government of Mexico has strong control even over the cartels would be a pipe dream at best. Like you may be acting like that's the place, but I think most of the evidence points to the fact that it is not.
Correct. Oh, by the way, what do you think of that apology letter that the cartel sent?
I'm still a little bit dubious about it, but if it is ending up being, totally authentic and bona fide, I guess I'm not that surprised that they may take this action because, sure, while there are all these high-level conversations going on with the potential of, even like military forces being involved in interdictions into Mexico, which has, as we actually just had the anniversary this past week, believe it or not, of the Columbus attack, Pancho Villa attacking Columbus, New Mexico, and causing the whole punitive expedition. So someone can argument about history going in cycles there, I suppose. In any case, they are very much wanting to not have that happen, regardless of whatever these high-level conversations are. So I'm also reminded of, I forget what actual date it was, but there was the major boxing match that happened in the Sun Bowl some years ago. And of course, there was questions about, okay, how is this going to go on? There's obviously interest from a lot of different groups, parties, potentially cartel-aligned people. And I think it wasn't exactly reporting on this because no one was going on the record to say this, but there was essentially this understanding that there was this tacit agreement that anyone going to that, given that it was on the U.S. side, that there was to be no one doing anything in any way that could therefore cause more attention to them. And I feel like this is kind of in that same vein, reason I bring it up.
Very possible. But it's interesting that one of their statements here, it says it goes against the cartel's rules, which include respecting the life and well-being of the innocent. Well, how do you respect the life and well-being of the innocent when you are promoting extortion, drug trafficking, kidnapping, prostitution, torture? I mean, that's really, really a big contradiction in term and a big crock of what.
I mean, I don't disagree with you here, but I will say that it could be seen in the view, this is going to sound a strange thing to be describing cartels as even having, but as public relations, essentially, because sure, I often talk about their marketing arms for those that are going to be their consumers, particularly of like their smuggling products, human smuggling particularly, but that they really have to have some kind of approval from, they have a constituency when you really think about it. Sure, a lot of it may be their kind of internal constituency, those within the organization, but they still have to have a level of, okay, we need buy-in from them, but also they often have to have a level of like tacit approval from the community to be able to operate in the way that they do, because if they're just seen as this like unmitigated evil, they're not going to be able to do the level of effort it'll take to do what they do would go that much higher, essentially. So I'm not going to say that we're talking like Six Sigma lean integration here, but the idea of having some kind of like, oh, no, we didn't really mean it. Our bad guys could be seen as a really maybe ham-fisted but kind of PR effort.
Well, I don't know. Like you are dubious of this.
Yeah,
but
I'd agree.
Anyway, Andrew, I turn the mic back over to you. I'll let somebody else talk.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for supporting the call. Do appreciate it.
Take care.
All right, and with that, actually, we got to take that next break right now as it is. So we got more calls that'll be coming in on the line, and we'll be getting more comments as well. So if you want to, there's some good comments there we'll get to as well. So if you want to get on the line, remember that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Got a crash causing delays on southbound Joe Battle after Montwood, a 3-vehicle accident that's blocking 2 right lanes, only 1 left lane to get by. On San Antonio Avenue at Rayner Street, an injury accident. There's a crash Mesa southbound after Wrestler Drive at Pitt, and an accident from earlier on Pebble Hills eastbound at Sunfire, backing traffic up to Joe Battle Boulevard. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Ben Ferguson Podcast.
Coming up on the Ben Ferguson Podcast, imagine you're taken hostage in Mexico. What do you think America would do to get you back? Apparently not much. In fact, you're only worth $12,500 in reward. I'll give you the details. Download the Ben Ferguson Podcast now.
Are you working way too hard for way too little? There's never been a better time to consider a career in IT. You could enjoy a recession-resistant career in a rewarding field with plenty of growth opportunities and often flexible work environments. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. You could start your new career in months, not years. Take classes online or on campus, and financial aid is available to qualified students, including the GI Bill. Now is the time. mycomputercareer.edu.
Car crimes are on the rise. Protect yourself and your valuables this holiday season. When you park your car, always lock it down. Never leave keys in your vehicle. Never leave your windows down. Don't leave your valuables in plain sight, or you might return to a terrible sight. Try to park in well-lit areas. And most importantly, always lock it down. Brought to you by the Insurance Council of Texas and the Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority. Learn more at lockitdowntx.com.
You're invited to enjoy 50% off your purchase during the semi-annual Friends and Family event, only at Banana Republic Factory. Shop this week only for limited time prices at your nearest Banana Republic Factory store or online.
Dazzling decal on Daisy's Donuts window. Bold banner at Barry's Barbershop. Prominent poster at Penny's on Park Place.
This is your sign. Well, signs. To try Staples and see the difference. Get $15 off signs, banners, and posters when you spend $75 or more.
From Staples, and I couldn't miss it.
Ends 4/15. Visit staplesconnect.com/printbig for details.
You're invited to enjoy 50% off your purchase during the semi-annual Friends and Family event, only at Banana Republic Factory. Shop this week only for limited time prices at your nearest Banana Republic Factory store or online.
Why should you volunteer with Meals on Wheels?
I never thought that 5 minutes could make so much difference in the lives of 2 people, but it has.
Drop off a warm meal and get more than you expect. Volunteer at americaletsdolunch.org. Brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app. Just some of the comments coming in on this whole Matsumoto situation. Let me make it very clear. The whole incident involving it and the response to it so far, I mean, there's a lot of problems there, but I mean, on the whole idea of a letter and those that were allegedly involved being trussed up by their higher-ups, Flacco Jimenez saying the communications director got involved, maybe the chief information officer. I will say I agree with Sean Gardner saying here on Cartel, seen as quote-unquote Robin Hood by their communities / constituents. Yeah, that's what I see this more going towards. Also, the fact that they apparently in that letter supposedly explicitly mentioned the bystander that was killed in the incident. Probably one of the more big things, but I also see this maybe more broadly as some low-level guys screwed up, and the higher-ups are saying, oh, no, we ain't taking this heat. Y'all kick the hornet's nest are now going to be hung out to dry, literally. Anyway, I mean, yeah, also on El Rueda saying for all we know, could have been 5 guys that were kidnapped somewhere and turned over to the U.S. Yeah. There's a whole lot of there's a whole lot there that I want to see a whole lot more on, but it's an interesting situation, at least it's been described so far. Anyway, let's go back to those phone lines here right now. Again, that number to call 915-544-587-6544-KTSM. And let's just say if you're mentioning confirmation bias and it's just the irony, you're so close. Anyway, we do have Ben on the east side here with us right now. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hello, Andrew. Last week I talked a little bit about a program called SEL.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do any investigation of that?
Yeah, we've talked about this previously. I want to say the whole social emotional learning. Let me get my words right there. And you mentioned particularly that there was a partnership between, I think you said EPISD it was?
As of 2021, all campuses in EPISD are participants in that program.
And specifically from
Castle, by
right?
A group called CASEL,
yeah,
the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning.
So yeah, there is information actually if you just search up EPISD and CASEL, the CASEL organization you're coming up with. EPISD does have a page on this on under their student and family empowerment area, describing what they have with what SEL, the social and emotional learning, and also specifically CASEL's SEL framework, particularly the core competence areas and where they're promoted. So yes, does seem to be a part of what they are working with there. They've got a not totally unconfusing diagram there saying, I mean, both the parts of like self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, social awareness, and how that integrates again, classroom, schools, families, and caregivers and communities. It's a interesting detailed diagram, I got to say.
Yeah. And also there in testimony given by an education researcher before the House Committee on Appropriations, Labor, Health, and Human Services, Education, and Related Agencies last year on April 6, 2022. You can look that up. Mm-hmm. This individual talked about even parents who are broadly sympathetic to liberal ideology on race and gender may still be perturbed by the school surveys that have become central to SEL implementation. These surveys ask students highly sensitive questions about their mood, their beliefs, their family, and even their sexuality. Parents are not always informed about the nature of these questions, nor do they have strong reason to trust that the answers will remain private. Earlier this year, according to him in his testimony, hackers stole personal information over 820,000 students in New York City public schools. If SEL encourages schools to create more robust and sensitive data sets on their students, we should expect further hacks and data privacy violations.
That's an interesting point you bring up there. I hadn't thought about those particular implications, but I mean, it has been... I thought it was a one-off. I think it first happened to me in like, let's call it better part of a decade ago when I got a notice in the mail that, hey, I can't remember, it was like a bank organization, someone that had some amount of my information that could have been concerned. They were sent me a letter saying, hey, we have had a data breach and therefore you qualify for essentially these free services in order to see if you need to be concerned or have, credit monitoring, those kind of things. Ended up not affecting me directly, but I've gotten like a handful of those since. And it kind of feels like the only inevitability at this point is that it's probably going to be, and if you're not taking a real strong standpoint when it comes to data security, which is not exactly a sexy standpoint. It's one of those hindsight 2020 kind of moments where, oh, well, we should have had a lot stronger, but we'll totally do it now. And whether or not they actually follow through is another question.
Do you feel that it's a good idea for our school people to be asking on surveys to students about questions about their mood, their beliefs, their family, and their sexuality? You think that's the purview of education, our educational system?
I'll put it this way. I mean, purview, maybe not all of that. I would say working on like concepts related to it through like, in-class exercises, like how are we feeling today? Understanding how to like, self-regulate. Stuff that is usually in the wheelhouse of like the family and parents, but increasingly feels like people are just thinking this is done in schools anyway, which is not an excuse, but the idea of it being maybe addressed, presented, something to be learned about, maybe, but like documenting it, the specific part you're getting to here and keeping records on it, that I guess maybe I feel a little bit more on the but why kind of reason.
Okay, I'm an old fart, and what it amounts to is that I don't remember anybody talking to me about any of those things as I was growing up.
Sure.
And I seem to turn out all right. I don't understand where the schools get off on doing this kind of stuff. If you're interested in what is being taught in the El Paso schools to your children and grandchildren, please take the time and investigate the SEL program. All you have to do is just put SEL and El Paso Independent School District, and then do it. And don't just glance over what they're saying they're teaching. Delve into it. Find out a little deeper about what is actually going on and what they're teaching our children.
I mean, yeah, I would encourage people to do that kind of regardless of the issue, but particularly in this one, as it's something new. And I mean, anytime, whether or not you agree with it or not, anytime something new is potentially being integrated, there's the potential for it to be maybe not working that well. The DARE program back in drugs in schools. I'm not saying it caused me to do drugs. Still haven't, but I'm just saying for other people, it may not have totally worked out. So yeah, questioning and looking into, kind of maybe a trust from verify, if you want to be generous with it, is probably a good thing when it comes to any of these major topics.
For sure. And one of the things for sure is that, this has all been brought about by COVID. People, they've been, their children have been taught about these things before this, but during COVID, people started looking at what was being taught in schools, and they're finding out about this stuff. So you do your own research. If this should scare a lot of people about what's going on. And last but not least, let's go, Brandon. Stay safe, stay well, and God bless you.
Sure thing. Thank you for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we'll go and take that next break right now. We got a lot more to talk about here, and we got more calls on the line. So if you want to get on the line, add your 2 cents, etc., you can, of course, give that number a call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Some mention of going to school experiences right now, even going on, but I appreciate that. But back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. That number one more time, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Stay tuned. Back in a minute.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Iraca Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update. A pursuit ended at Interstate 10 in Artcraft on Thursday. Today, near the parking lot of a Carl's Jr., our news crews at the scene said there were 2 groups of migrants who were in custody. At least 8 people were sitting along the curb, most of them men. Later, troopers with the Texas Department of Safety arrested an additional 8 people, so at least 20 people were involved in this incident. El Paso fire dispatchers confirmed firefighters were called out to the scene just after 6 a.m. to help with the post chase. DPS troopers, Border Patrol, and El Paso Fire Department also responded. The city of El Paso is expanding its emergency resources with a new fire station. Firehouse 36 is located on the Hospital of Providence Trans Mountain campus in West El Paso. The new facility's construction cost the city $7.4 million, and the funding came from the $413 million public safety bond that was approved by El Paso voters in November of 2019. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
That earlier crash southbound Joe Battle after Montwood at New World Drive has got one right lane blocked. They've actually unblocked one of the lanes. Traffic's flowing a little bit better there. Intersection of eastbound Viscount at Sunmount Drive, an injury accident. There's a crash Mesa southbound after Wrestler Drive at Pitt. That earlier crash Pebble Hills eastbound at Sunfire has cleared. All lanes are back open. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Could be some isolated sprinkles or light showers in the overnight, about a 10% chance. We'll see lows dropping down into the 40s to lower 50s, so light jacket for your Friday morning. Very warm temperatures for tomorrow, back around the lower 80s. Could see a high around 81 for Friday El Paso with some breezy conditions, and then we go breezy to windy for your Saturday, high around 80. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Need weekend plans? Check out what's happening at your local Lowe's. Weekending at Lowe's gives you and your family the opportunity to make them your weekend destination with free events, workshops, and more. Visit Lowe's.com/events for this month's full lineup.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today for good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Struggling with CPAP? Now there's Inspire, the only FDA-approved obstructive sleep apnea treatment that works inside the body to treat the root cause of sleep apnea with just the click of a button. No mask, no hose, just sleep. Visit InspireSleep.com to learn more.
Is your tub worn out, but you're not sure who to trust to replace it? With over 2 million successful bath remodels, people trust Bathfitter because we know how to do it right. We've been custom designing and manufacturing baths for over 35 years. Our unique tub-over-tub installation takes as little as a day with no demo to fit your busy schedule. And we offer a lifetime warranty on every tub. That's how confident we are in our quality and durability. Bathfitter, it just fits. Visit bathfitter.com to book your free consultation.
Wendy's homestyle French toast sticks are so good. Some are saying they're better than their mom's French toast. Perfectly crispy on the outside, perfectly fluffy on the inside, perfectly perfect in every way. Try Wendy's homestyle French toast sticks today and see if they're better than your mom's. This report is sponsored by Wendy's. Try Wendy's homestyle French toast sticks today.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
You need to know what's going on.
News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, Facebook, other Facebook pages, Twitter at Talk El Paso, twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk, and of course also on the twitch.tv. Anyway, however you want to get to us there, and a lot of comments coming in, and a lot of interesting commentary on the whole school issue there as well. Amber found us saying one thing school does at the pre-K level anyway is a computer quote-unquote check-in with happy faces. Questions are like, how do you feel? How do you feel about your classmates? And they choose a face that matches their mood. I guess, again, the idea of like considering how, I mean, sure, academics, certainly an important part of school, but also understanding like how that works for a kid. And now some of them saying like Sean Gardner about parents have gotten lazy and are allowing others to rear their children. That kind of goes back to an issue we've talked about off and on, but the whole shopping cart theory. Like, are you ready for self-governance? Are you doing the things that are required to do it? Because it's not just oh yeah, I can make my own decisions, but are you actively like participating in it and not waiting for those other people to kind of step in and make some of them for you. So I feel like that's a part of it, and the idea of actually being ready to do that is another question that kind of needs to be asked, and what it takes to actually get people there. One of the things that actually James Holmes also mentioning the Simpsons there. I guess there's a specific program called the Capacitar program that I became aware of some years ago that's actually in place at our El Paso County Jail, among other things, or at least was at the time. Now, I'm not saying that we should have jail programs instituted for general public or for kids even, but what it was specifically was about is essentially along the lines of understanding and being able to like respond and not just react to your emotions or be like controlled by them. And particularly for people in that frame where they may have been accused of crimes, we're finding that they kind of ignoring or not understanding that part of themselves was a very bad thing. So not, again, saying that program should be implemented, but the idea of there being some kind of like, hey, consider at the very least individually how your emotional state may affect everything else you got going on, including learning, social, academics, all those kind of things. So anyway, let's go ahead and take that next call right now. We do have Frankie and Messia on the line with us here right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
All right. I moved my radio to a different receptacle in my garage, and now I hear every third word versus every fifth word. Now, having said that, I think I heard correctly, Raul, was he talking about the whole Dominion foul noise network? Was he talking about that?
No, he was referencing the Manhattan the Manhattan DA potential prosecution against other stuff involving the former president.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't want to traipse over the ground, but I will say this. This whole foul noise network with the Dominion thing, they're going down. The whole thing is absolutely obscene. I can't think of any other word to describe this travesty that these people lie right out of their mouth. This is nothing but 1930s Joseph Goebbels propaganda. Now, that's all I want to say about that. Well, I want to ask, yesterday, talked about these 6 gals or 5 or 6 gals with the putting a lawsuit relative to Texas anti-abortion law. Are you having any women in the Southwest Florida region chiming in some kind of comment? Because I'd be really interested in knowing what their thought process is. Do you have any of that?
I mean, we had one call that came a bit after, immediately after yours, I do want to say, but no immediate response either from callers or directly kind of in the comments, I would say, at least unless I missed one yesterday, directly to the point you were making, I want to say.
Well, I don't know whether or not you got to harp on it, because, like I said, I think, and again, I'm not a babe. I mean, I don't really have any dog in this fight specific, but I find it, just from a human standpoint, other women out there that are being confronted with this nonsense, I think it's extraordinarily interesting, and it's a heck of a topic to be talking about that maybe you could, I don't know, somehow, some way get out there and, hey, everybody, let's talk about this or something like that. I just find this absolutely amazing to be able to talk about this and see what their thought process is. That's my comment.
No, fair enough. I mean, it is I'm sure we'll get more into it once we see if some of these cases start progressing. I mean, kind of rubber hits the road moment that you could expect in that would be if it ends up being accepted by the Supreme Court, among other things. So we're pretty well into this current session, or at the very least going on to it. I mean, it could be emergency accepted. So once that kind of ends up hitting and it goes on to an actual docket, that would be a very important moment, and probably when more would be pushed for, or at least more response would start getting generated on it. That's if that's what you're looking for, maybe look for that kind of a moment in society.
Well, again, like I said,
Sure.
What you're saying is correct. Yeah, the whole Supreme Court thing, where's that going to go? But I just think for radio purposes, again, Southwest Florida region, that would be such an interesting topic only because the whole circumstances being developed and forwarded by the whole thought process of these nut jobs in the Texas side of the house. That's what I'm thinking. That's all I'm saying about that.
All right, well, fair enough. And again, I expect there will be probably more on this as we got, again, those ones that have now filed that lawsuit, filed specifically by the Center for Reproductive Rights on behalf of them. And I mean, they do mention, the Attorney General and others. So we'll be watching the progression of that one, because it would be the first like real definable specific challenge, among other things, to the actual, I mean, even before we had the overturning of Roe v. Wade, there were the various versions of heartbeat bills, or even that kind of bounty bill that existed in Texas that I'm actually not too sure about the still status of that. That brings up several more, even beyond the issue itself, more jurisprudence and like societal implication issues that I gotta say are disturbing to me greatly.
All right, I hear you on that, but let's stay on that thing.
Yeah,
Be
sure.
the proverbial pest, if you will. And anyway, have a good day.
Yeah.
I'll check in with you tomorrow.
Sure thing. Thanks for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
All right, Andrew. Take care.
All right, and with that, I think we got time for at least another call or two, see what we can squeeze in. Right now, we do have Tom calling in from Otero right now. Tom, thanks for joining us.
Hey there, Andrew.
Hey there. What's on your mind?
I'm calling in reference to that Alec Baldwin trial that's supposed to come up in May
Right.
for involuntary manslaughter.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, he claimed the firearm was malfunctioning, right?
That's my understanding, at least some of the last public statements I saw on that.
Yes. Well, the DA is a Democrat. And so logically what they did, the report just came out, they destroyed the firearm involved in the shooting.
So I did see that go by, and actually what they've now actually said that very specifically, the New Mexico First Judicial District Attorney released a statement after the hearing saying the gun was not destroyed. So, I mean, that would be beyond the idea of whatever you think of political implications when it comes to guns or guns control. That would be a violation of the custody of evidence, and would be,
it would,
I mean, that would be just so screwed up in a variety of ways. I mean, like, sure, sometimes stuff like that happens after a trial. That happened with some other notable firearms that have come up in national cases, but this one being, right in our backyard. Yeah, so my understanding, the latest on that is that no, it was not destroyed because, oh boy, would that be a screw up.
Well, then the media, I heard it from a news channel, so I think it was, what is it, KQE something or other.
So I'm actually looking at it right now. KRQE, Albuquerque-based news network, saying that as of, during our show, actually, they updated this 5:38 p.m. that, the district attorney's office has released a statement saying, no, it was not destroyed. It did come up during the hearing. And so, they are saying a spokesperson for the New Mexico First Judicial District Attorney saying, no, it was, quote, that gun still exists and can be used as evidence.
Okay, then it was just fake news.
Well, it was apparently.
I thought it'd be another case. It was a little before your time. We had a Judge O'Rourke here.
Oh.
He was Beto O'Rourke's father, and he got popped with a brick of cocaine. And right before the trial was to come up, it vanished from the sheriff's department's property room. So they had to drop the case. So I just thought, I heard that on the news. I guess it was fake. And I right then and there, I go, whoop, there we go again.
So essentially the
no
chain
evidence, no case.
I mean, that was a statement being made by Alec Baldwin's attorney that this was the case. But again, now the district attorney up there said, no, this is not the case.
Well, I'm glad somebody still has common sense.
I mean,
hadn't heard that revised edition.
Yeah, saw that go by a little bit earlier today. And so, I mean, we'll keep tabs on that trial as it progresses here. I mean, again, it's kind of in our regional area given the whole southern New Mexico thing. But, I mean, it's kind of a sideshow in its own right. Just sometimes as it gets overwhelming, we've got to pay attention to it. But, that would be a huge screw up if it did happen there. So to see why it came out that may have happened. But, again, as of the latest, they've said that, the firearm is still able to be used as evidence.
Hopefully it's the same firearm. Well, I'll see you later.
All right, sure thing. Thanks for the point in the call. I do appreciate it.
Bye.
All right, and with that, okay, I think we can squeeze in one more quick call here. We do have Jerry in the northwest side of town here. Jerry, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Andrew, for taking my call. I have a comment here.
Sure.
Yesterday, you got a call. You got a call from one of your favorite callers that happens to be trained in the emotional learning system.
Mm-hmm.
He was raised in that in a CRT, and he was blaming you for being racist and a liar.
So sure. Mm-hmm.
Well, let me put this out there. You've heard of Epoch Times, right? Epoch Times.
Yeah, I had a chance to actually meet some of their hosts, among other things, at that 2021 CPAC Dallas. And so I follow them. They do a lot of
Okay.
Southeast Asia focus, but yeah, I'm aware of them.
Okay, well, they're one of the top 10 news outlets in the world, correct?
I don't know if I've seen that exact ranking, but I would believe it if you said it.
Okay, they had an individual on there that they were doing an interview, and they're trying to get down to race relations and what's going on in the United States, why we're having problems. This man is a highly melanated individual, which means, for those that don't have that much common sense, means he's a black man. His name is Andrew Norman. And he's an author, columnist, and commentator. Okay, let me get this done quickly. His comments were, you have this cascade of government policy from the East Coast all the way to California that was intentionally designed to negatively impact Black Americans. And that's how these neighborhoods get destabilized in the first place. Part of what goes on here, again, is progressive policies. These neighborhoods have been destabilized over the years and destroyed and gotten into the position they are because of the policies that were enacted specifically by progressives in the Democrat Party. Democrat Party says that they are for Black people, and they want to help them and to end racism. And they want to stabilize Black communities, and all these promises and all the policies that they campaign on right now have the exact opposite effect. They're letting out rapists, they're letting out murderers who go back to their re-terrorizing neighborhoods and keep wreaking havoc. More government is never the answer. We need to get over this reliance on the government to solve all of our problems and realize we're going to have to take action ourselves. Now, that's a quote from a highly melanated author, spokesman for the Black community. So I just hope your individual that called you a racist the other day was hearing that. It's not the right conservatives that are causing the problem. It's the Democrat progressives. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sure thing.
Let me speak. You have a good day, sir.
Oh, you're welcome. Appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there. We got to end up taking that next break right now. Talk a little bit more about that and as well as what we got coming up for you because, okay, we're kind of getting to Friday territory now. It's bleeding over a little bit, but we're on the cusp of it anyway. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound, not too bad. A little slow. 6-minute delays from Trans Mountain eastbound to the Patriot. Police on the scene of an injury accident eastbound Rojas at Zaragoza. An injury accident Viscount eastbound at Sunmount Drive. Earlier crashes, Joe Battle southbound after Montwood is cleared. All lanes back open there. And an earlier crash eastbound Pebble Hills at Sunfire is cleared up. All the lanes are back open. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Brake Masters.
It doesn't matter what you drive, it's how you get there. Brake Masters doesn't care. We've seen it all and fixed it all. Get your vehicle in Brake Master shape today. Download coupons and schedule an appointment from your smartphone.
Brake Masters. We give you an honest break.
With Seagram's Escapes, you can turn a daily chore into a vacation. An ordinary dinner into a lively cookout. Your Wednesdays into an early weekend, or any situation into something extraordinary. Seagram's Escapes make happiness happen. Enjoy responsibly. 2023 Seagram Beverage Company, Rochester, New York. Flavored malt beverages.
Attend the El Paso Gun Show this weekend, March 11th and 12th at the Forum Ballroom, 3800 Maddox, El Paso, Texas. See dealers selling the finest in modern guns, custom knives, ammo, scopes, rifles, shotguns, and much more. Buy, sell, and trade at the El Paso Gun Show this weekend, March 11th and 12th at the Forum Ballroom, 3800 Maddox, El Paso, Texas. Do not miss the El Paso Gun Show this weekend, March 11th and 12th.
You're invited to enjoy 50% off your purchase during the semi-annual Friends and Family event, only at Banana Republic Factory. Shop this week only for limited time prices at your nearest Banana Republic Factory store or online.
Dazzling decal on Daisy's Donuts window. Bold banner at Barry's Barbershop. Prominent poster at Penny's on Park Place.
This is your sign. Well, signs. To try Staples and see the difference. Get $15 off signs, banners, and posters when you spend $75 or more.
From Staples, and I couldn't miss it.
Ends 4/15. Visit staplesconnect.com/printbig for details.
You're invited to enjoy 50% off your purchase during the semi-annual Friends and Family event, only at Banana Republic Factory. Shop this week only for limited time prices at your nearest Banana Republic Factory store or online.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for having joined us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you all so very much for having joined us here for Talk El Paso and all the things that we do here. We're just about out of time here for this program. So, of course, tomorrow, Free for All Friday. Yeah, we're queuing up for that. But we're still going to be working on more interviews for you, including more on some of those, cryptocurrency and also, well, that's been one we're working on actually, but also on the whole idea of AI and integration and kind of what that means, not even just for like academics, but society at large, what's going into it. So a lot of those implications to be discussed there. And then also, of course, more on smart meters. We got some of those scheduled for y'all next week. So a whole lot more to get into. And yeah, still keeping an eye on the legislature. There's a whole lot of swirling topics we get around here, which is why 2 hours every Monday through Friday is never quite enough, but we do our best and we'll do it again tomorrow. So until then, until next time, stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when y'all are out on the road and have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound, not too bad. A little slow. 6-minute delays from Trans Mountain eastbound to the Patriot. Police on the scene of an injury accident eastbound Rojas at Zaragoza. An injury accident Viscount eastbound at Sunmount Drive. Earlier crashes, Joe Battle southbound after Montwood is cleared. All lanes are back open there. And an earlier crash eastbound Pebble Hills at Sunfire is cleared up. All the lanes are back open. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Paid for by government.com.
The 1878 to 1921 Morgan Silver Dollar, a true American classic and one of the most iconic silver dollar coins in history. It's been 100 years since the last Morgan silver dollar coin was struck for circulation, and now, for a limited time only, full pound bags of original U.S. government-struck Morgan dollars are being released to the public. That's right, you can own a full pound of 1878 to 1921 classic American Morgan silver dollar coins, all in very good collector condition with fully visible dates and mint marks, guaranteed. Call 1-800-473-1745 now to secure collector-grade U.S. Morgan silver dollars by the pound, struck during the Wild West and the Gilded Age. Plus, receive a bonus American Collector's Pack valued at over $25, free with every order. Call 1-800-473-1745 now to secure your full pound bag of Morgan silver dollar coins before they are gone. 1-800-473-1745. That's 1-800-473-1745.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Weather and traffic info. You need it? We have it. Traffic.